For today, we have a couple things in store, nothing really major. The main thing that's probably going to take up the most time that I'm actually not too thrilled about, I need to remove the center console completely up where all the wiring is coming from the engine fan. All that needs to be rerun. The wires that were used appear to be 16 gauge, which I'm not comfortable with that. For the amperage that it's drawing, I wouldn't recommend using less than 14, so I'm going to be changing it out to 12 gauge wire. So we need to lift that up, change all that out, so that way we don't run the risk of a fire or any kind of wires overheating. So that'll be the main project that we're working on. The next thing that I need to do, we need to look at the actual tachometer filter. We're not getting an accurate reading on the tachometer, so it looks like the filter may either need to be replaced or may just need to be rewired. So we're going to be looking at that as well. And then lastly, we're going to go ahead and pull this out of the garage. Up until now, we've done a lot of work with it starting up, moving it around, but it's all been kept pretty much in here inside of the garage. This will be the first time that we're actually going to back it out completely outside, test it, bring it back in. Unfortunately, I can't take it out onto the road because it's not tagged yet and the front tires still need to be replaced. So, with all that's in store, let's go ahead and get started with that. Okay, I went ahead and I removed the back panel off of the center console. So now we can go ahead and we can lift this up. Unfortunately, I got to undo all the wires to this entire switch module here, and that'll give us access to all the wires. So I'm going to go ahead and lift this up so we can start rerunning the wire.
So here's what we're looking at here. We're underneath the center console at this point. This is the switches right here. This is the light accent. This is the engine, and then this right here is the turbo switch. So what you have here is this is 12 gauge wire right here that's coming off the main power, which is good. And you've got 12 gauge going here to switch. However, from here it was connecting into a 16 gauge running to the fuse. That's what we're going to replace because I don't like that being such a thin gauge of wire. So we're going to go ahead and cut that, pull that through, and then refeed 12 gauge to the fuse, and that should take care of our issue.
All the wires have been removed that need to be replaced, and I know better than this. To be honest, I'm not too thrilled that I put 16 gauge in there by accident. But anyway, we are where we are, changing it out. Basically, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be replacing the fuse harness piece, which is 2 female ends where the fuse goes in, and then I need to replace the other connectors to connect into the existing 12 volt and then into the toggle switch. So I'm going to go ahead and rerun that. We'll get it wired back up, and then we can move on. All right, we have everything put in now. Everything's connected. Here the engine fan's coming on fine. Fuse is in line. So now we're going to go ahead and slide this center console top. Obviously this is not how the real Countach is. The real Countach is one whole solid piece. We're putting that in at a later time, but for now we're just leaving this one in here that was put in by the company that made this replica. This is just a fiberglass. Now it is real leather, stitched leather. Go ahead and just slide that in. There we go. All right, I'm going to go ahead and align it, fasten it back in, and we'll be right back. Okay, the center console's put back in place. Everything's been secured, nice and solid. All the wires have been tucked back under, changed out to the 12 gauge from the 16. Engine fans are good to go. So now what we're going to work on now is I'm going to start testing the tachometer filter, find out why we're not getting a reading on the tachometer, and then we'll be right back.
Okay, I went ahead and added this hose here, which goes from the reservoir to the radiator. One that was in there was just some cheap clear plastic one. I wanted something a little more durable, so that was added in as well. So now we're going to go ahead and start it up and make sure that all the fluids are good and that it's funneling through properly.
Okay, so engine's on, the fans are running good. Everything looks good with the levels. Hose is tightening up a little bit there, so we're getting pressure. Let's check the temperature inside. Okay, so we're at 128 degrees right now. I have the fans running front and back. So it's looking good. Normally it was coming up too quick. Looks like everything is good. The hose is good. Nothing came loose. Pressure is good on there. So takes care of that. So now let's move on to the next item. I went ahead and found the problem with the tachometer not reading. Apparently it was a loose wire that we reconnected, so everything's working now. Going to go ahead and fire it up and let's see what the RPMs are coming in at. Up until now, we've noticed that the engine was racing, but we weren't able to tell exactly what the RPMs were. Now we'll be able to check and see what that is. Okay, well, it looks like it's around maybe 1,800 RPMs, which is way too high. Normally it should be between 600 to 800 on idle. Let's see as the idle air control valve kicks in a few seconds, see if that takes it down at all. Okay, so as we saw, it looks like it's leveling out around maybe 1,800 RPMs, which is way too high. I went ahead and tampered around a little bit back there with the EGR valve, and I was able to get it down roughly around 800 to 1,000, which is where it should be. So it looks like that's the problem. We're going to have to come back in another time and deal with that, either bypass it completely or replace that. So with that being said, at least we know now what's going on with the idling. Going to go ahead and back it out of the garage real quick, pull it back in, and make sure that everything seems fine. We're getting ready to kick into the suspension, so I want to kind of just get a little bit of a feel for that. Let's go ahead and do that. Well, that pretty much wraps it up. Everything sounded good pulling in. The suspension seemed fine. I'm still going to go over and check out the tie rods, control arms, calipers, all that, and make sure everything's good. But worked out really good. So now that we have the tachometer working, we need to fix the racing RPMs. That'll solve that problem there, and then we'll move on to the suspension. That pretty much wraps up this time here in the garage working on the Countach project. Please send any questions and any comments. I would love to hear from you. I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, I appreciate the support, so please like the video, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.